PR Connections Radio presents. This episode of the PR Connections podcast is brought to you by Classy Communications PR and Advertising. Classy Communications provides public relations and marketing solutions for businesses, professionals, and nonprofit organizations. They can deliver the true meaning of your business with press releases, social media marketing, web development, email marketing, book publishing, and much more. Wherever your potential clients are, they can help you connect with them. Visit classycommunications.net to learn more about their suite of services that can help your business stand out from the rest. Classy Communications is your solution for business success.
Welcome to Vegas Hockey Hub here. I'm your host, Ian Rachiele, and we are going to be doing our report cards for the 2026 NHL Trade Deadline. It was a very busy and impactful trade deadline here in the NHL. And the way we are going to be doing this is that we will be breaking it down. We will be doing a half-hour video on the Western Conference, and then we are also going to do a half-hour video on the Eastern Conference. This is going to be the Western Conference edition, and then the next video immediately afterwards will be the Eastern Conference version. I will leave a link for the East down below in this video. Likewise, for the Eastern Conference, I will leave a link down below for the Western Conference. But here on Vegas Hockey Hub, there is so much to go over, so many teams that did moves here at the trade deadline. Now, way we're going to do this is similar to recent editions that we did in previous years. We will go with the Pacific Division first and then the Central Division second, and it will be in the order of the standings. So we're going to start this out with the Pacific Division, and we are going to head over to the West Coast and talk about the good old division leader in the Pacific Division. So the Anaheim Ducks organization, they are a playoff contender. They are battling for the Pacific Division, the lead with the Vegas Golden Knights organization. So what did the Anaheim Ducks go out and do? They made a splash at the trade deadline and got arguably one of the better defensive players on the on the trade deadline in John Carlson from Washington. Now, for the Anaheim Ducks, I think that this is an incredible situation. A+ is the grade for Anaheim here. More importantly, when you land a defenseman like John Carlson, a dependable, reliable veteran, a guy who had been a lifer out there with the Capitals, this is an all-in type of move. This is the Anaheim Ducks realizing that this is the first time in forever that they are not only going to be a division leader, potential division champion in the Pacific, but more importantly, the Anaheim Ducks organization has the ability to have a good, solid playoff run here with the Anaheim Ducks. And getting John Carlson to strengthen up that defense is a perfect move by Anaheim. And then they actually, I understand that them getting a 7th-round pick from Calgary isn't that flashy, but the fact that they offloaded Ryan Strome, his contract and everything is not going to be in Anaheim anymore. I actually think that is solid by them. So essentially they move on from Ryan Strome. He goes over to Calgary. They bring in John Carlson, that conditional first-round pick in 2026 on the third in 2027. I just see this as a win for the Anaheim Ducks. So this gets an A out there in Anaheim, and they are doing very solid right now, trying to add to a potential playoff push here. So a lot of positives here. Can't really complain. Yeah, some people are going to say that the trade value and what they gave up to Washington was a bit steep, but you have to play to get into the playoffs, and you need to be able to spend a little bit if you want to make a deep playoff push. That is what the Ducks did here. I see no complaints at all. So Anaheim Ducks, A+. I'm a fan of the John Carlson move out here in Anaheim. When it comes to your hometown, Vegas Golden Knights, they did have a busy and productive trade deadline. Some good, some bad. Overall, the Vegas Golden Knights outside the Rasmus Anderson trade they made in Calgary about a month ago. This is a organization that at the trade deadline, they did not go big. They did not go for any big, flashy household names. But what the Vegas Golden Knights did was get defensive-minded forwards for the bottom six, strengthen the depth of the bottom six on that third and fourth line. Them going out and getting Cole Smith from the Nashville Predators, giving up Christopher Seedorf and a third-round pick in 2028. Now, for a bottom six forward, that did seem like a little bit steep by the Vegas Golden Knights, but overall, Cole Smith now reunited again with Colton Sissons as teammates and as pairing on that fourth line with the Vegas Golden Knights. And then the next day, they also went out with the Washington Capitals organization, and they acquired longtime capital and someone who has been an established veteran in Washington for so many years in Nick Dowd. And in return, they gave up AHL goalie Jesper Beckman. They gave up a second-round pick in 2029 and a third-round pick in 2027. Now, the main criticism that a lot of people are going to have with the Vegas Golden Knights, and it's going to be a criticism I do have to acknowledge, is they did not go out and get a goaltender. They did not go out and get Binnington. They did not go out and get Bobrovsky. That is going to be something that a lot of people were wondering and hoping the Vegas Golden Knights were going to go out and do. There was also all this talk about them trying to offload Adin Hill's contract. Did not happen. But for a team that is second in the Pacific Division, they are, 1 point out from the Anaheim Ducks and everything there. This is a Vegas Golden Knights team that decided to add defensively, but by having two-way forwards and guys who are more physical on that bottom six. So this is a B for the Vegas Golden Knights. This isn't an A. If they went out and got a goaltender at the trade deadline, it would be an A. But for what the Vegas Golden Knights did, I see what McCrimmon's trying to do. He's trying to add more defense, try to get more physical on the forward side, and try to, get better penalty kill, which I know Cole Smith can definitely help when it comes to the penalty kill unit. But with the Vegas Golden Knights, for what they managed to do, they did not give up Trevor Connolly. Thankfully, I was kind of hoping they did not give up Trevor Connolly, and they did not. But to not give up any of their top major prospects here and to get a solid return of bottom six forwards, I see what McCrimmon's trying to do. So B is the Vegas Golden Knights. Could have been an A if they went and got a goalie, but they did not. And we'll have to see if that come back and bite them or not come playoff time. But for the team that is second in the Pacific Division, trying to stay in the playoff hunt for now, this is the Vegas Golden Knights with a B at the trade deadline. The Edmonton Oilers definitely kept their phone busy, and they did make a few calls to a team out there in Chicago, as really the only trades the Edmonton Oilers made were two, but they were to the same organization. Now, earlier on in the trade deadline at the beginning of March, they called up the Chicago Blackhawks and got defenseman Connor Murphy, one of the longest tenured members of the Chicago Blackhawks organization, an alternate captain, somebody who was a leader out there in Chicago, good defenseman on the second pairing, and traded a second-round pick to Chicago to get Connor Murphy. And then a few days later, as it got closer to the trade deadline, Edmonton and Chicago made another deal here, giving up a conditional first-round pick in 2027 and giving up Andrew Mangiapane. And in exchange, they got Jason Dickinson and a young Colton Dach. B- is the grade here for Edmonton. I see the vision of what Edmonton is trying to do. Them adding, a second pairing defenseman. They already have Jake Wallman. They got Darnell Nurse. They have Evan Bouchard, but still strengthening up the defensive pairings out there in Edmonton. I understand why they got Connor Murphy. And then getting some good middle six forwards in Jason Dickinson, and then a younger guy who they're giving a second chance to, essentially, in Colton Dach. Now, that first-round pick in 2027, that's conditional. We'll have to see if those conditions are met. And then a second-round pick in 2028. But we've actually been seeing in this trade deadline, second-round picks have been getting traded a good amount. at this trade deadline. So Edmonton did not really overpay when you understand the second-round pick market and the 2026 NHL trade deadline. Only criticism for Edmonton, they're third in the Pacific. They're trying to compete, trying to stay in that battle for the Pacific Division, and understanding that Edmonton is only 5 points away from the Anaheim Ducks for the Pacific Division lead, 4 back from Vegas, and then they are only 1 point ahead of the Seattle Kraken for that third and final spot in the Pacific Division. Not getting a goalie is a bit interesting. Now, I understand some people are going to say, well, they made that goalie swap back in December, trading Tristan Jarry to, for Stuart Skinner, but it hasn't been enough. And I understand the criticism that some people have. The Edmonton Oilers going out and not getting a goalie is definitely a criticism that Edmonton is going to have to look at in the mirror. And if Vegas takes on Edmonton in the first round, it's going to be a question mark of, okay, Vegas did not go out and trade for a goalie at the trade deadline. Is that going to bite them? Well, Edmonton Oilers fans can ask themselves the same question. Them going out and not getting Binnington, not getting Bobrovsky, not going out and acquiring another goaltender alongside Jarry, is that going to bite Edmonton? So not getting a goalie doesn't really, make them an A. That probably would have put them there. But B- for Edmonton. It was solid moves, nothing too flashy, but it gets the job done. Seattle Kraken did not make too many moves at the trade deadline, but as it was getting close to the end, they did make an impactful move, and it's a move that I actually think is going to benefit Seattle and actually help them come playoff time when they do make it as a wild card or as a third seed in the Pacific Division. Them calling up the Toronto Maple Leafs and getting Bobby McMann in order to only give up a second-round pick, which is conditional, and a fourth-round pick in 2026. I am a fan of what Seattle did here. Look, Bobby McMann, he was a huge name at the trade deadline. There was all these rumors and reports about what team was going to try to go and trade and get Bobby McMann and strengthen their middle six out there at the organization. But right now, the Seattle Kraken being in a good position right now to not only make the playoffs, but to add some more offense to that middle six. Bobby McMann can definitely do that in Seattle. So overall, a second-round pick, which once again, those have been getting shopped around during this trade deadline like they are just candy, and then a fourth-round pick in 2026. Not a bad pickup here. And overall, the Seattle Kraken, pretty smart move. I mean, they didn't have to do too much of the trade deadline, didn't have to give up too much in terms of deals. So overall, a B+ for the Seattle Kraken. Really solid move here to help them get back to the playoffs and try to make it for the second time in franchise history. San Jose Sharks, they did not do really any major moves, just some minor acquisitions at the trade deadline. Now, like I mentioned earlier, with the Edmonton Oilers, with them doing the goalie swap in December, the Vegas Golden Knights with the Rasmus Andersson deal they did in January. When it comes to these trade deadline grades, I don't look at moves that happened, before the month of March, really. I don't really count those into this grade. Because, yes, I am well aware the San Jose Sharks traded multiple second-round picks to get Kiefer Sherwood and then extend him for a long-term deal. But that is not what is factored in here. So just based off of what San Jose did at the trade deadline itself, they made two small moves, getting Jet Wu, 25 years old, from Vancouver, them adding a draft pick by giving up Timothy Liljegren to Washington. It's just not moves that are flashy, nothing really to complain about. So therefore, you get a C with the San Jose Sharks. They're still a young roster. Mike Greer is still, adding to this roster of all the young talent that they've accumulated over the draft the last couple of years. Of course, we all know Macklin Celebrini, what he's capable of. But overall, with the San Jose Sharks, this just gets a C. Not much really to say. They just made two small moves at the trade deadline. Los Angeles Kings are a bit disappointing at the trade deadline. This is an organization 3 points out from the final wild card spot in the Western Conference. I mean, this is a team that, they're 1 point back from San Jose, 3 points back from Seattle. So at the trade deadline, what did they go out and do outside the Artemi Panarin move, which once again, like I mentioned, that happened in February. That goes past the timeline here of what we're talking about from the grading system. But they did make 3 moves. Some of them don't make a lot of sense for me. For example, Scott Lawton, acquiring him from Toronto, giving up a conditional second-round pick. I kind of look at that and go, okay. I mean, Scott Lawton, he is not, a terrible player, but I really sit there and go, okay, so you're giving up all of that and you're doing all these conditional stuff and you're doing all these conditional picks. And then they trade Corey Perry to Tampa Bay to continue his tradition of making it to the Stanley Cup final every single year. Best of luck to you in Tampa Bay. And them getting a second-round pick, I look at that and go, all right, you still had to have salary retained and stuff like that. Second-round pick. Once again, this trade deadline, second-round picks are just being exchanged from every single organization this year. So you offload and you get away from Corey Perry, but you trade for Scott Lawton. You move away from Warren Fogle by giving up a conditional third-round pick, but you get back a second-round pick with a conditional third-round pick. I don't know. I just sit here and look at it and go, the LA Kings are not a solidified playoff team, so instead they go to the trade deadline and they just did a bunch of just meh. That's what a lot of these moves just feel like. It was just a bunch of just mid transactions with the Los Angeles Kings. They really didn't move the needle in terms of trying to be in the playoffs. So just really confusing on what the Kings are trying to do here. But overall, Los Angeles Kings, C- is the grade here for the LA Kings. Just not the biggest fan of what the Kings did here at the trade deadline. If there was an organization that was rebuilding and selling off assets and did it correctly, the Calgary Flames actually might have been one of the best teams to do it. The Calgary Flames getting a B+ is because of the value that they got at the trade deadline. Them trading away Nazem Kadri, having him be sent back to the Colorado Avalanche organization, and in return, not only getting a conditional first-round pick, a conditional second-round pick, but them also getting a 19-year-old prospect and a former Vegas Golden Knight in Victor Olofsson. I like the value they got for Nazem Kadri there. Them actually acquiring a young 23-year-old, somebody that is with the New York Rangers organization. I like what the Flames did there when they had a swap, a 1v1 essentially prospect deal with the New York Rangers. Them acquiring Ryan Strome, just a veteran, somebody that, is going to be on the roster. They take his salary, took his cap hit from Anaheim, but only had to give up a 7th-round pick, so that's not bad there. And then Mackenzie Weegar, with how massive his contract is, Utah had to pay, and handsomely they did pay. Them not only giving up Oli Mata, who's a veteran defenseman, getting a 20-year-old center prospect from Utah, but not 1, not 2, but 3 second-round picks. So if you're the Calgary Flames, not only did you get a conditional first-round pick, but you also got 4 second-round picks out of this trade deadline for Calgary. So overall, not a bad haul. So a B+ for the Calgary Flames. I like what they did as terms of a rebuilding roster out there in Calgary. The Vancouver Canucks, ignoring what they did in January and February, ignoring the Kiefer Sherwood, Quinn Hughes, all the trades that happened previously, just focusing on the trade deadline week itself. There's really not much I can say about Vancouver that is positive here. Not only did they make an AHL swap essentially with the San Jose Sharks, getting Jack Thompson from San Jose, but they trade Tyler Myers, get a 2nd-round pick and a 4th-round pick from Dallas, but they had to retain half of his salary to make that work. They trade Connor Garland to Columbus, but they don't even get a 1st-round pick for the guy. They get a 2nd and a 3rd. And then they trade away some bottom 6 forwards with Lucas Reichel to Boston for a 6th and David Kampf for a 6th to Washington. So not much impressive from Vancouver. And for a team that's rebuilding, they did not get much quality, but I would say they did get quantity when it comes to draft picks. I mean, 7 picks overall, but it's just not the quality when you're trading away 5 players. So Vancouver gets a C at the trade deadline. Just didn't get what I was assuming they were going to get while trading away all these assets. If there was an organization that is going all in to win another Stanley Cup, if there's a franchise that decided, you know what, we are going to sacrifice our futures, we're going to give away our valuable draft picks in order to establish depth, it was the Colorado Avalanche. Not only getting Nazem Kadri and reacquiring him and bringing him back from the Calgary Flames, but more importantly, trading for Nick Waugh from the Toronto Maple Leafs. That is a fantastic move by Colorado. It straightened up the defense by getting a depth piece in Nick Blankenberg. But overall, when it comes to Colorado, these were two grand slam moves by Colorado. Fantastic decisions by the Avalanche organization. Kadri, we know what he can do in the playoffs. We've seen how vital he is to Colorado in the past. And then Nick Waugh winning a Stanley Cup with the Vegas Golden Knights. He is a playoff hero as well. He can be very valuable to a middle six. That's why they went out and got him. And overall, trading a first-round pick in 2027, a 2028 first-round pick, giving up 2 first-round picks to acquire some solid depth for the middle six. That is amazing work by the Colorado Avalanche. So an A+ here by Colorado. I'm a huge fan of what they did here. Getting Nick Waugh and Nazem Kadri, 2 brilliant moves by the Avalanche. The Dallas Stars, who have been arguably one of the strongest teams in the Western Conference this year, second best record in the West outside of Colorado, who is clearly the top dog right now in all of the West. But for the Dallas Stars, they went in and they kind of strengthened their depth for this organization, going out and getting a big, and I mean big boy defenseman in Tyler Myers. I mean, this is someone who has been an established veteran, someone who knows how to toss his weight around and use his height for his advantage. Getting him from Vancouver, only giving up a second and a fourth. And the fact that Vancouver took on 50% salary retention is really good by Dallas there. And then going to Nashville with them selling off so many assets and them acquiring Michael Bunting at the trade deadline and only having giving up a third-round pick. So the fact that Dallas Stars did not give up a first-round pick is good for them. The fact they didn't have to give up any top prospects is a solid situation there. So them getting Myers and Bunting adds depth to their core and kind of helps build their roster still, strengthening not only that middle six, but help their defensive pairings as well. So really solid here. So I give it a B. It's a B effort by Dallas, and we'll see if they can make it past the first round in the playoffs, and we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But trade deadline, can't complain. Very solid job here by Dallas. In terms of quantity, the Minnesota Wild were one of the most active teams at the trade deadline, as they had not only 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but they had 6 official trades at the trade deadline week with the Minnesota Wild. And I'm not even counting the Quinn Hughes trade they did back in December, because that does not count here. But overall, with the Minnesota Wild, them getting the captain from the Chicago Blackhawks in Nick Foligno, having him be teaming up with his brother Marcus out there in Minnesota, them taking a flyer on a former top prospect in Bobby Brink from Philadelphia, adding some good physical forwards and Michael McCarron from Nashville, and then getting a veteran defenseman, maybe somebody that could be a third pairing guy for Minnesota in Jeff Petrie. And overall, Minnesota did not have to give up much in order to get these guys. I mean, second round pick in 2028 for Michael McCarron, that seemed big at the time. But honestly, considering the amount of second round picks that got traded at the deadline, it kind of became normal after a while. Giving up a 7th round pick in 2026 for Jeff Petrie, not bad there. Then only having give up future considerations for a captain in Nick Foligno. So, I mean, Minnesota Wild, they did okay. Like I said, this was more of a quantity type situation. They are solidified in that 3rd seed in the Central. Them and Dallas are most likely going to be the first round matchup. I mean, that's pretty much been almost a guarantee for the last month now. And we'll see if Minnesota can make it out the first round or if Dallas can make it out of the first round. But yeah, B- for Minnesota. Nothing too flashy, nothing that's going to, make you stand out or anything. But this is more quantity over quality out there in Minnesota. For the newest team in the NHL, the second year of the Utah franchise in the National Hockey League, they are the first wildcard spot right now. So they took advantage of their opportunity, and they only made one move, but it was an impactful move, getting Mackenzie Weegar, a good solid defenseman from Calgary, and only having to give up Olli Maatta, a prospect, and 3 second-round picks. Now, I know some people are going to say 3 second-round picks was maybe a bit too much, but in order to get that contract and everything, you also got to remember with Mackenzie Weegar, he still has 4 to 5 years left that he is going to be on that contract. So in order to get that expensive contract and to get the amount of years on that deal, giving up 3 second-round picks, a prospect, and Olli Maatta, that is what they needed to do there. But overall, B+. I mean, I think what Utah did here is very solid. They got that first wildcard spot. They are 6 points up on the Nashville Predators in their division. So with Utah, this was a really good trade deadline for them. No complaints here. But yeah, Utah Mammoth, B+ on the Mackenzie Weegar deal. Despite the rumors that they were going to trade Erik Haula, despite the rumors they were going to trade Jonathan Marchessault, Nashville did not trade away really any big names here, sending McCarron to Minnesota, Bunting to Dallas, Cole Smith being acquired by the Vegas Golden Knights. And in terms of trade value, I mean, it's okay. I mean, a third-round pick for Bunting, getting a, second-round pick for McCarron, getting a third-round pick for Smith. This is a B. I mean, this is just something that, Nashville did. It's okay. Nothing too flashy here. They did get some value in return. But overall, this is a B grade for Nashville. Just not anything too exciting, but nothing to complain about with Nashville. The Winnipeg Jets, they made 2 separate trades at the trade deadline, both to Buffalo. So very interesting. Winnipeg and Buffalo are similar to Edmonton and Chicago, using each other multiple times to make transactions. Now, Winnipeg, they know they're not in playoff contention. It's pretty much over for them compared to the success they had in previous years. So trading away defenseman Luke Schenn, Logan Stanley, a good forward, and a former Golden Knight in Tanner Pearson, sending all of them over to Buffalo, who is really trying to contend on the eastern side. And you know what? They did not get really any bad value out of this. I mean, getting Rosen, Bryson, and them getting a second-round pick, a conditional fourth-round pick, and a seventh-round pick in this situation there. So overall, I say that this is a really solid situation there. Them getting a former first-round pick in Rosen, them getting a solidified defenseman, someone who can bring some depth in Bryson, and then getting some multiple picks. So overall, Winnipeg Jets, they get a B- for what they traded away. They did get some value in return. If you're looking for the champion of the trade deadline in terms of selling off assets, if there's an organization that did this right, it is the St. Louis Blues. Not only did they trade their captain away, Braden Schenn, have him go to the New York Islanders and potentially help them in their playoff push, but then they also trade a veteran defenseman in Justin Falk, have him go to Detroit for their playoff run, but they actually did get a very respectable haul, pun intended. When it comes to Jonathan Drouin, he's going to, be a middle six guy, someone they can, plug in there for the remainder of the year. Justin Holl, I mean, this is somebody who's been a, defenseman for a while, veteran type of guy. But them getting 2 prospects, one of them being a 20-year-old goaltender, that has upside there, and getting 4 draft picks, 2 of them in the first round, and 2 third-round picks. I like what St. Louis did here. Fantastic job by the Blues. Now, I'm going to try not to sound biased here as a Chicago sports fan, but when it comes to Chicago Blackhawks, they get a B here, trading away Connor Murphy to get a second-round pick, and then the next day trading Jason Dickinson for a conditional first-round pick, and then Colton Dach, for Andrew Mangiapane, giving away Nick Foligno, having him join his brother in Minnesota. It is a B grade for Chicago. And overall, when it comes to the trade deadline, this report card for the Western Conference, Let us know in the comment section if you agree or disagree with this. And we will also have the Eastern Conference, like I said earlier in the episode, will be uploaded as well. So this is the Western Conference side. We're going to do the Eastern Conference coming up next. So until next time, I'm your host, Ian Rachiele. This is Vegas Hockey Hub, and this was our report card for the 2026 NHL Trade.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.